special guest, Brody Thorne, who is the National Director of Personal Training for Good Life Fitness in Canada, a true leader in personal training industry for over a decade. Brody has been a developer of multiple executive level leaders across the world through integrity and caring-based approaches. Brody is a straight shooter in this world where common sense and the right thing to do merge. Brody's coaching philosophy has led others to the peak of their personal and career fulfillment. And we are so glad to have him here with us today on the Voice of Truth Revolution. So Brody, welcome.
Thank you.
So Brody, why personal training? What motivated you to get into this industry?
Well, it's interesting, Sandra. When I was in college, I was on a volleyball scholarship and really focused on playing my sport, and school was almost an afterthought at the time. I was struggling with my motivation and really wanted to find some direction. I actually was in a career development and planning course, and you know, everybody had some homework to do on different competencies and things they were good at, and fill out a sheet, and there was really nothing coming to mind when I completed the assignment. And I came back to my class, and other people were reporting on, you know, what certain jobs they came up with, and I was just lost. And I think my professor could see it on my face, and I actually said, I wasn't afraid. I said in front of the whole class, like, I'm not really sure what I came up with, to be honest. And she looked at me and she said, you know, you would make a great personal trainer. She said, you love fitness, you're athletic, you love working out. She says, I think that you'd be fantastic at that. And literally, the only time I'd ever heard of personal training was when Ben Johnson was training Diego Maradona for Argentina in soccer. Like, I'd heard that he was training him for $1,000 an hour or something like that. That was the only thing I'd ever heard about personal training. So I thought, okay, well, I'll look into it. So there were some DVD ROMs at the time that you put in the computer and looked at the different stores, and there was two, you know, documentaries on two personal trainers in Los Angeles, and they, you know, it looked interesting of what they were doing, but I remember specifically both of them saying that it was something that they could only do part-time, and they had other jobs, and it was something that you really couldn't make a living at, but it was a good part-time job. So I've always been a person that really doesn't let other people define my direction, and I just made a decision right then and there. I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to make a career out of it. So I just, you know, from there on, I just made that decision and, you know, went to school for it and did a couple of certifications before I was even finished school. And, you know, I think that going into it, I had a different idea of what it was. And once I got into personal training, I actually liked it and enjoyed it much more. And the reason I did was because I got to help alleviate people's pain and increase their pleasure, basically. So taking away any kind of emotional pain, physical pain, whatever kind of pain they were in, I could see the progression in every single session of people improving and the impact that it had on their lives. And I obviously weren't able to be in their lives and see how it impacted them, but the things they would tell me and the gratitude that I was shown through numerous clients reinforced that feeling over and over again, and that's what continues to drive my motivation today, is the impact that that profession, if done well, can impact people in a really positive way.
Wow. So was there somebody in particular who walked, you know, through that journey with you, a mentor, somebody, you know, who might have influenced you?
Well, I think that I was fortunate enough to go through my struggles, and that there were some people along the way that definitely gave me pieces of advice and steered me in the right direction. I had examples of good leadership and poor leadership as a personal trainer from my bosses that I learned a lot from. And every boss I had good qualities and poor qualities. So I was grateful for the opportunity to work with each one of them, and other associates as well within Good Life that I learned a ton from just in my conversations. And I think that there wasn't really anybody in particular that stood out as a personal trainer, but I would say that definitely when I became more of a leader and moved into a management role, my boss at the time, her name was Natalie Sakeling. She was had a very profound impact on my my mindset and the way I communicate with people, and just reinforcing the good qualities in me that were there that nobody had really told me before.
Wow.
So I'll always be grateful for her, and I'm still very good friends with her today, and her husband was in my wedding party. So I think she would probably be the person that had the most profound impact at a time that was very crucial for me.
So I know that you strive to really see others succeed, through your integrity and caring approach. What could you tell me about that philosophy a little bit more?
Well, like in the bio, when you explained, introduced me to the group, I talked about where common sense and the right thing to do merge, and it's really about always making sure that people are doing the right thing for the right reasons. And I always find that when the right thing is done, amazingly, the best results come of it.
Yes.
Because the right thing to do is always good for everybody, and everybody wins, and everyone is successful.
Right.
And in so many cases, I find in this world that many people have a hard time believing that the right thing to do is really how people become successful. And I can even remember myself, times when I was in my early 20s where I didn't necessarily have the best attitude or best outlook on life, and I figured that, people who were successful always, probably screwed someone over, or this or that, and, I really did think that way, and I the more I started to see, learn from people and really do more the right thing all the time and make sure that it was happening, and really became disciplined about making sure that I didn't take shortcuts, I found the results to get even better and better and better, and that's really what I always teach people to do, and I take very seriously, and I think that having that approach with people makes it clear.
Yeah, it's very clear, because in my interactions with you that I've seen that it's a very, very clear philosophy, very, which is really geared towards, core beliefs and principles that are, of being transparent, with people, and genuinely wanting to care for them to get the best, results for them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, at the end of the day, when you are in a serving position, you should never be able to feel like you have anything to hide. And I have never felt that way in all my years in leading people, and I always encourage my leaders to conduct themselves in the same way. That, if you always feel completely content and completely confident that your intentions were in the right place, you can never go wrong. Mistakes can always happen, but doing the right thing and having the right motivation and really caring about the person is always the right way to go. And truly caring.
Yes, truly caring.
Because some people can disguise being nice as caring when in fact that it's not, right? So truly caring is really the key, and I think that the world has a lot to be educated on what true caring is, and I try and do my best to help my people with that.
Yes, and that's why you're on this interview, actually, because you're a true truth chaser. You go after the truth,
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm in the process of discovering these little gems all around people I've connected with. Can you share with people watching today the one time that you had to struggle with this philosophy, but you continue to believe in yourself, you overcame, and how can other people who are in leadership positions like you, do the same? Because there are so many people out there, they're in leadership positions, they feel like they're in a fishbowl, they feel like they're scrutinized, and they feel, that perception is key. And that drives fear and some sort of attitudes and behaviors that maybe in real life doesn't even dictate who they are, right? Yeah. So can you give me some examples maybe of things like that have happened with you, and maybe you can share with others who are maybe even coming into leadership positions, what they should be thinking about?
Yeah, sure. It's I can give you some examples. I think that firstly, everyone should always acknowledge that we probably spend double the amount of time thinking about other people, what they're thinking about us, when they're really spending none of their time thinking about us and thinking about themselves. So
very good point.
I encounter this quite often that people tell themselves a lot of stories, and the fact is that if they actually realize everybody's telling themselves stories about what everybody else is thinking, they wouldn't worry too much about it. So that's definitely a premise that you have to have. In this world, in business or in life, there's always going to be increasing pressures to succeed and achieve. So this is where ethics and integrity and the right thing to do can come into question. And I think that I've had a couple of situations where I've gotten into troubled areas with poor culture and poor performance a few times in my career, and I think that what is always important is behaviors. You can always manage behaviors. You cannot manage results, and I find that a lot of the time people equate their success to the results they're getting.
Right.
And in many cases, the results that come can be circumstantial, and they can be temporary if the right behaviors aren't in place.
Absolutely.
So whether you're in a situation where you're successful or things look good or things look really bad, you always have to manage each behavior and influence behavior in a positive way. And I think that in the long run, if you influence the right behaviors, you're going to set the table for long-term success.
Right.
And sometimes you have to communicate with people about what the expectations are, and mostly communicate with yourself and say, manage your expectations of what you think you can accomplish in terms of results, but have a very firm approach to the behaviors you want to see.
And also the reality and the realistic, if there's a word called realisticness, but just, really being able to measure whether you can, you have lofty goals or whether your goals are measurable, right?
Absolutely. So
that you can have the outcome, because people get disappointed. They may have the right attitude, they may have, the right behavior, but sometimes, they might not be able to reach their goal, and thus they think in their mind sometimes they're not performing right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a really key component of driving success is the feeling of success. And accurate goal setting comes into play big time when it comes to feeling successful. So when people set too lofty goals, or whatever it may be, when they're in difficult situations, they're not going to be able to manage the behaviors and have a patient attitude.
Absolutely.
And in this, any kind of business, you're going to find missed expectations every single day, every single hour, and how you deal with them is incredibly important to how they change.
Absolutely.
So if we're too focused on achieving a goal that we've set that's too difficult, and we ignore or don't manage the behaviors as effectively as we want to, we're at risk of producing short-term results or no results at all.
Right.
And damaging relationships. And that's the last thing that you want to do in the long term.
Absolutely.
You have to ask yourself the question, if these people were to walk away or not work for me anymore, would they say that I was the best boss they ever had?
Absolutely.
And when if you can keep that level of consciousness when you're working with people, I think it will pay off. And you just have to make sure that when you're in troubled situations or you're dealing in a crisis and trying to achieve targets, that you balance out, that you take out the outcome and you think about the individual relationship.
Absolutely.
Think, what is the best thing for this person and myself?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we can control the things we can control, which is the behaviors, in the long run, things will turn out okay. And at the end of the day, targets will always be there, but relationships with people can be broken or bonded based on those conversations and goal setting outcomes.
Right. Well, I really want to thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. As you can truly see, that we truly have a truth chaser here, where, information is just not information, goals are just not goals, but really what he's looking at is, building relationships, which is really important at the end of the day, building relationships, and, using integrity and a caring, care-based approach. So, Brody, once again, thank you so much for coming out here today. And stay tuned for more from the Truth Chasers on the Voice of Truth Revolution. I am Sandra Weppler, signing off today. Bye-bye.